Beneath the ice groaned. That was the first thing Dr. Marianne Cross had noticed when they arrived at the research station. It wasn't the sharp, clear cracking of frozen rivers she was familiar with. This was different. A long, mournful wail, a sound that seemed almost alive. She had dismissed it as the natural stress of the ice sheet, a mechanical groan from the earth itself. That was before the nightmares began. Before the hum. The Arctic Research Station, perched atop the frozen expanse of Lake Takrumak, had the charm of a decaying prison. Narrow, sterile corridors, flickering fluorescent lights that buzzed like flies. Steel walls that were forever cold to the touch. The wind battered against them constantly, howling through vents and rattling doors as if something was pacing outside, testing the locks. And then there was the ice. It never stopped shifting beneath them, groaning and creaking in ways that shouldn't have been possible for something so solid. Something about it felt wrong. Katya Novikova, their Inuit guide, had warned them. The lake is not just ice, she had said. It is a cage, and cages are made for things you do not want loose. Dr. Wenjiao had laughed it off, calling it superstitious nonsense. Her job, after all, was to study microorganisms trapped in the ice, remnants of an ancient world. She was a scientist. Science did not bow to spirits. But when the sonar readings came back, even Wen grew quiet. Something moved down there. John O'Steele, the station's grizzled mechanic, was the first to snap. "It's singing," he whispered. One night, eyes wide, hands clenching the filthy rag he always kept in his pocket. He'd been working alone in the maintenance room, and when they found him, he was curled in a corner, muttering to himself. At first, Marianne thought he was joking. Then she saw his hands were shaking. "It's in the ice," Jono insisted. His voice was raw, like he'd been screaming for hours. "It's under us, listening." No one took him seriously. Not until they heard it too. At 2:37 a.m., the station's automated sensors detected a vibration coming from beneath the lake. A hum. It was low at first, barely a whisper on the edge of perception. But as the nights passed, it grew louder. A constant, pulsing tone that crawled into their skulls, wrapping around their thoughts. Dominic Harlow, the station's security officer, dismissed it at first. "This place is messing with your heads," he said. "Isolation, long hours, classic paranoia." But Marianne saw him flinch when the sound came through the vents that night. Saw the sweat glistening at his temples. She wasn't the only one who noticed. Katya took Marianne aside, her dark eyes serious. "You need to leave." Marianne almost laughed in her face. "And abandon 6 months of research?" Katya's expression didn't change. "You don't understand. We are not alone here. The Kalupalik, it calls to you, and when you answer it will take you." "Kalupalik?" Katya hesitated. Something old, something hungry. Marianne exhaled through her nose, frustrated. "Katya, come on. There's no—" Then they heard the scream. Jono was gone. One moment he had been pacing the common room, chewing his nails down to the quick. The next, the outer airlock alarm was blaring and the log showed it had been manually opened. They followed the footprints out onto the ice, flashlights cutting through the dark. Jono's tracks led half a mile onto the lake, straight toward a fissure in the ice, a massive, jagged crack wide enough to swallow a man whole. No body. No blood. Just his boots, left standing in the snow like he had stepped out of them before slipping into the darkness below. The hum was louder now. Dominic locked himself in his room after that. When Marianne pounded on his door, he wouldn't answer. When she threatened to override the lock, he finally relented. Just long enough to shove a folder into her hands before slamming the door again. It was classified. Government reports. The station had never been about studying microorganisms. It had been built here for a reason. Decades ago, Navy sonar detected something moving beneath the ice. Something massive. Something that shouldn't exist. A life form. Classified. Files referred to it only as Project Abysm. The hum turned into a song. It didn't just rattle the station's walls anymore. It crawled into their minds. Wen stopped eating, stopped speaking. Just sat in the lab staring at the sonar screen, her fingers twitching, her lips moving silently. Katya was the first to try and leave. She never made it. They found her standing at the airlock staring at the storm outside. "Katya?" Marianne called. No reaction. She didn't blink, didn't move. Then she whispered something under her breath. A single word over and over. "Listen." Marianne grabbed her arm, but the moment their skin touched, Katya screamed and collapsed. Her eyes were gone. The sockets were filled with ice. The end begins. The station is empty now. Dominic walked into the lake 2 nights ago. Wen jumped into a crevasse yesterday. Marianne is the last one left. The hum never stops. It's inside her skull now, whispering, laughing. Somewhere outside, the ice groans. Something stirs beneath it, and Marianne finally understands. It was never a cage. It was a door. And now, it's open. Final transmission, research station, Takrumak signal lost. No survivors. Last recorded message, a hum.